everyone,
Hello.
and welcome to Kirsty and Bryony's Comfort Zone.
I am Kirsty.
And I am Bryony, and today we are going to dive into each other's dreams.
Each other's dreams, not just Bryony's. Each
Yeah.
other's. I have a dream.
She has a dream.
Wow, I have a dream.
And it's entitled Bags. So we've got that to look forward to.
Bags. I can't remember anything about the dream, but apparently they were bags.
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 So recently I have been having a lot of dreams, but
That's
I've
good.
been waking up too sleepy to record them, which is
Just
bad.
like me, for real.
Because I wake up and I have this feeling of, that was a really interesting dream. And then it just fizzles away whilst I don't know. I
Go back
think
to
it's just
sleep.
been taking, yeah. Well, I don't really like properly go back to sleep, but I do that thing of being like, I'll get up in a bit, maybe just 5 more minutes. And then I just sort of roll around in bed for 20 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I'll get up. And by
20
that
minutes.
point,
That's
it's gone.
That's self-control right there.
That's amateur hours.
Yeah. It's like yesterday. I think it was it yesterday you called me? Or was it the day before?
Yes.
Yesterday. So I ended up going to bed at about 1:30, which is pretty early for me. 1:30 in the morning. And I woke up at about 9:30 and I was like, oh, I'm up quite early. Like going to bed a couple of hours early must have, moved my sleeping pattern around a little bit. No. I ended up going back to sleep after turning my alarm off. And then you rang me at about 12:15 and I was like, huh? Where am I? What year is it?
See, I had been up at, I think I'd had to get up at 8:30
Oh my God.
to go. I was so sleepy and I dragged myself onto the bus and I got into town and I went in a hot air balloon, not in the basket, didn't go up. I went inside the actual balloon
Into
itself.
the actual balloon. That is super
And,
cool. I've done that before, but not for charity. I don't know what I was gonna say. It's just not for charity.
Just for myself.
Just for myself. It was for my own benefit.
I did it for other people. Very selfless act, me going inside a balloon.
Oh my
But
gosh. It was a very cool balloon though, the
It
Wallace
was
and
a
Gromit
very
one. It was
cool
awesome.
balloon.
You can see it on Twitter, anyone that hasn't seen it.
You search for the Grand Appeal
Yeah.
balloon. The funny thing is, I was with that balloon, obviously, when it went up. And I did like an Instagram story about it, just being like, in a balloon. And my friend, who I've not seen in months, sent me a photo from across the river that she had taken because she'd seen the balloon. And I was like, that's me, I'm in there.
Oh,
It's like we are so close yet so far.
that's me.
It's me in the balloon.
That's me in the balloon.
But yeah, I completely lost track of time because we'd vaguely said, maybe we'll record at 11:30. And then I looked at the time and it was 12. I was like, guess we're not. And I had this horrible image of like you sat by the computer like a maiden looking out to sea, waiting for her sailor to return. But no, it turns out she was just
bed.
Mimi.
I was sleeping.
she was happy, it's fine.
I forgore.
One of the dreams, before we get into the two that we've recorded, a dream that I do remember having recently, I don't remember the build up to it. All I remember is how it woke me up. And it was that I was in some place that was maybe like a field or something. It's so fuzzy, I can't remember. But the only thing I can remember is reaching back into my hair and there was a frog tangled up in my hair.
Oh no.
And I suddenly became aware of frogs. Not a lot of frogs, maybe just like 3 frogs. But you know when you wake up because you're like, something touching me, something in a bad place that it shouldn't, like it's something in my hair, something in my ear, something, ugh. And I woke up with that real feeling of like, oh, there's a, like, I love frogs, but I don't like things being tangled in my hair.
I mean, frogs, you don't want frogs in your hair because they're all like slimy. They're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
They're going to get stuck.
But I just woke up thinking like why frogs? So I was going to look up frogs,
have a look
but I thought I'd wait to do it live on the podcast.
In your book. Do it.
In my book. So I'm guessing it'll be under aminals. Oh, I straight away opened the page to toad, but it was very specifically frogs. But I guess if frogs isn't in here, I'll go for toad. Frog!
It's got to be in there, yeah.
A period or act of transformation. A frog transforms from a tadpole and moves onto the land. There is something repugnant, which is turning into something of value, i.e. a frog into a prince. Oh. Also see snake, as all reptiles have the same significance.
What?
Wait, do they?
Oh?
You just lump them all in together?
What?
I wouldn't associate a snake
Snakes are just long frogs at the end of the day.
Yeah, just long, limbless frogs.
Long old frogs.
Snake says, when the dreamer is attempting to come to terms with his or her more instinctive self. Inevitably, this has to do with the recognition and harnessing of energies which have been suppressed and thwarted. I guess that's like, what you call it, isn't it? Blimmin' Adam and Eve.
Oh.
Would you Adam and Eve it?
Oh,
it's trying to resist your urges and not eat the apple.
Yeah, I guess so.
But under snake, it says, also see serpent.
But
it's just leading me all the way through this book.
Also, see frog. You'll follow all of these trails, right? And you'll get to a page that just has boobs written on the top corner.
Yeah, in brackets, phallic. Okay, frog. Transformation, something repugnant turning into something of value. Is there a good reason why I would have a frog in my hair? Is that...
We were just talking about haircuts. Is your hair repugnant?
My hair is the frog, and I need for it to become a handsome prince.
Ooh, have a nice haircut.
Can you come and kiss my hair, please? So it'll transform.
It will turn into a handsome prince. How beautiful.
See, I have a weird relationship with frogs because I love frogs. They make me very happy.
Uh-huh.
Only when they're alive, which I guess is a normal thing to film.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw a dead frog and it made you happy, I'd be a little bit concerned.
But I have like a genuine fear of dead frogs. Oh. Something about it, seeing an unalived frog is really like, what's the word? You know when you get like proper like caveman fear, like.
Yeah, like a
guttural fear.
Primal guttural.
Yes. I get that. And it all stems back to, this is a therapy session now.
It is, yeah. Well, when is it not, honestly?
It all stems back to when I was a child. So my primary school had a swimming pool, which feels very fancy.
I think you've told me this before.
I probably have.
Maybe even on the podcast.
Probably.
But
do you know what, actually?
Anyway, keep going.
One of my friends listened to 2 episodes of this podcast. He'd never listened before. And he was like, I listened to 2 episodes. And in both of them, you said about sleep paralysis. And both times you said, I don't think we've talked about this before.
Whoops.
So here's my frog story. I don't think we've talked about this before. We have. But for those who don't know, so they decided to put the swimming pool next to the school pond. I guess they just wanted to clump the water elements together. And sadly, that meant that the frogs would go, oh, big pond. They would jump in. They wouldn't get out.
Aww.
And for some twisted reason, my school also had frog-shaped beanbags that we would use for learning to dive in the pool. So you would pick them up from the bottom of the pool.
Oh, no.
You see where this is going?
You have told me this before.
So it would be one person's duty at the end of swimming lessons to go around and collect them all up. And one day it was mine. I picked up what I thought was a beanbag. It was not. And I went into such shock that they had to send me home. Because I was just so like, I remember standing in that pool, looking down at this poor wee frog, and they were just like, you just have to go, because I just couldn't like talk or do anything. I was just so, and ever since then, they just really get me. Aww. And I remember watching, is it Magnolia with Alex when I was staying at his house, and it's a very long film, but it culminates in this scene where frogs start raining from the sky. Mm-hmm. And of course, because of that, you see lots of frogs everywhere. And it got to the point where at the end of the film, Alex turned around to me and was like, what did you think of it? And I couldn't talk. I was in such deep like panic mode that I was just there like, And he was just like, I was like, afterwards I explained and I was like, probably should have mentioned this very specific problem.
I have a very specific fear.
It doesn't come up very often.
It's time you learned this about me.
But when it does,
oh my God,
there it is. So yeah, I wondered if the frogs in my dream would be something to do with that, but they were very alive frogs. They were wriggling around. But I feel like it is maybe not one of the common ones, but I feel like it is an established stress dream, things tangled in hair, or maybe it's just for people with long hair.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I don't know if I've ever had stuff tangled in my hair dreams. Honestly, thinking about it, in dreams, I don't think about my hair at all. Like,
I thought you were going to say I don't have hair.
I don't have hair. I mean, I may as well not, honestly. It just feels
I'm in
like
first
it's just
person
not
and I'm
even
bored. Oh, no, third person.
I'm in third person, yeah. Well, it's like I'm in third person, but I'm also just not really looking at what I look like, I guess. It's just my brain. It's like when you read in a dream, your brain's just like, yep, that's you. It's like, oh, okay.
Or like,
I trust you.
I guess it's that sort of thing, like when you're reading and you're not really pronouncing the names in a book. Mm-hmm. You just sort of go, and then Lord Flutterfur went off to the land of Flutterfur. I guess your mind just sort of does that. It's like, you know what you're like, just, it's you.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I operate anyway.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot to do with hair.
Oh.
But none of it relevant.
Oh, wonderful.
It says the hair represents strength and virility.
Oh, God, of course it bloody does.
I have a lot of hair.
You do, yeah. You're very virile.
Very strong.
Oh.
It says to be combing the hair, to be having our hair cut, to be cutting someone else's hair, to be bald in a dream, but nothing about to have frogs in your hair. Why not?
It doesn't say,
thing,
like,
right?
Having things tangled in your hair. Does it say anything like that?
No, which I wish it did. Because
I mean, that would be good.
I feel like it would just be really handy right now. There's it's like during summer, I always get scared about bugs in my hair.
Yeah,
like I don't mind like especially when we used to go on a holiday. When I was a child, I used to go on a holiday to France and you would get these massive bloody beetles that would just fly around. And the thought of one of those getting into my hair terrified me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would always tie my hair up because I figured.
I think I feel that with like spiders. But any other bugs, I guess I don't really think about it. But spiders, yeah, for sure. Spooky.
Yeah.
And daddy long legs. Blech.
I quite like daddy long legs.
I don't. They're too unpredictable. They just do what they want, and I don't like that because it's like, are you going to fly into my face? Probably.
I'll never tell.
You won't know until it happens. No.
I think they're sort of creepy, but in just such like a goofy little way. They're just so, I think I always sort of felt a kinship with them because I was so gangly as a child. I think
Aw.
whenever I used to see a daddy long legs, I'd be like, I'm like that.
It's just like me, for real, for real.
I'm just gangly and awkward, and I don't know what I'm doing with my. I don't know my next move. Why should you? And I used to like watching my dad catch them, because he would just his. I guess when you're little and dads have such like big dad hands, and I'd be fascinated by just watching him like claw it out the air. And then I'd just see it just sort of flapping around in his hand, and then he'd chuck it outside. It's like,
yeah,
gentle.
How lovely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't, I even, no. They scare me. Like when, I think as well, the reason I also don't like that is because when my dad used to do that, he would pretend to throw them at us.
Oh,
So yeah, if it's in his hand, it's like he has the power, and now I'm scared. I don't like that. I don't like that in my legs.
It's been weaponized now.
Yeah. Not a fan. Not a fan.
Geez. That's fair dues.
It's scary.
Shall we listen to your dream? Now I've exposed all my frog fears.
Bags. I don't know what this stream is about. It's 5 minutes long.
I could take a guess.
So sorry, everyone. Well, I have a feeling the bags involve putting trinkets and odds and ends into a bag, because that's usually what happens in my dreams. So yeah, look forward to more of that. But yeah, sorry it's so long. And sorry if I ramble. I probably do.
Everyone get snuggly, get cozy.
Get cozy, get yourself a hot
Settle
chocolate.
in.
I finished my hot chocolate now, so I'm going to be not very cozy, but okay.
No.
Right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, I had a dream that I was lost in a massive building, which I think was meant to be an Asda, but it wasn't an Asda on the inside. It was like a mix between like an office building, a stadium, a school, and Asda. So it was like behind the scenes in Asda, because there were a few bits that reminded me of like the locker room and stuff like that. And I was in there and I was trying to find my locker because I had my lunch in it. And I was going through all of these rooms, and I was getting lost in these giant bathrooms, and like going under half doors and stuff. And then I wandered into like a big party where everyone was dressed as Pikachu, and I was just like, I need my locker, I want my yogurt. Where? And I ended up having to get an Uber because I was so lost that somehow I managed to not be in the building anymore. And I can't remember much about the Uber driver, but we pulled up in front of another Asda, but it was a different one. I was like, that's not the right one. But I didn't say anything because I was too polite. And as I went to leave the car, I had to bring all my stuff with me, so I had a bunch of bags, I had like an empty crisp packet, and a cut-up debit card was on the dashboard, and I was like, oh, sorry, because I'd left it there, so I started like putting it all in the empty crisp packet just to clean up. But it took a little while, there was a lot of it there, and the whole time it was like I wasn't really in control, you know. There was two kids in the back that were like reading from a book, and they were saying about like a disease or a condition where everything, you know, you lose like your sort of ability to use your hands properly and stuff, and everything's kind of blurry. And then that started happening to me in the dream, and I'm trying to load up the crisps, the debit card in the crisp packet, and it was like, ooh. But I eventually managed it. And I got out of the car, and then the dude gave me a huge bag as well. And I was like, what do we do with that? And he went, just throw it away. And at that point, I think he had become my dad. I don't know why, but he was my dad. So I'm in the Asda car park. And I'm like, right, what do I bloody do now? I'm in the wrong Asda, but I call another Uber. But I'm looking around, and there's like a really nice, like deep purple, like sports car with 8 wheels or something. It's insane. And there's like a group of people watching the person driving it. They're like, yeah, do it, woo. So it's like this little old lady with a little bob of hair and earrings, and she reversed the car into a building to knock down the brick wall. So we're like, wow, look at her drive. And she reversed straight into a wall, and nobody reacted. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess she meant to do that. And then everyone went into this building, and it was just a huge brick building. And then I don't know what the heck they were doing in there, but they were snooping around, and they didn't want to get out. But because she had smashed the wall, the roof was looking bad. And I was like, guys, the roof is going to cave in. You need to get out of here. And they're like, no, it won't happen. It's going to be fine. So I was walking around trying to deal with all the bags I got from the taxi that turned into my dad. And I'm trying to get them out of this building because suddenly they're in this building now, and I don't want them to get buried when the ceiling drops. And the big, heavy one, I'm like dragging it out, and then bits of the ceiling start to collapse, and I think eventually a bit collapsed on me, but I had one of the bags above my head, and I could just see bricks falling. And I don't remember anything after that. But the building fell down. Ah, the end. Goodbye.
There you go. Oh my gosh. I don't remember anything. But the building fell down.
The building fell down. Sorry that the quality's a bit poo. I think my phone, so my phone broke and I had to get it fixed, but they didn't fix it. They just sent me a refurbed one.
Yeah.
I think the microphone in it is a bit poo. Because I was on the phone to my mum the other day, and she was just like, I can't hear you. You sound all muffled. And I'm like, bloody hell. And then, listening to that back, I think the mic might be a bit shit. So yeah, sorry about that. But
I thought you were just sounded really cozy. I thought, she's in like a little duvet cocoon.
I'll have to do a couple of tests, because I did have it a little bit further away from my mouth, because sometimes I'm a bit too close and like you can hear me, like, I don't know, it makes the mic pop a little bit. But
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, dream.
Bags.
There are a lot of bags.
Did feature quite heavily in the end.
Yeah, well, towards the end of the dream, I was dragging them around all over the bloody place, and the ceiling was collapsing on me. There were a lot of things in the dream that I know why I dreamt about them.
Yeah.
Very much. Like, it's just, yeah. I don't know why I dreamt about this, but the big, like, bathrooms that were at the start of the dream that were in this building, I dream about that so often, and I don't know why. Like, so many of my dreams have had these almost like liminal spaces that are just very large bathrooms, like big tiled, almost like when you're a kid and you have like the communal changing room in the swimming pool sort of thing. Like,
yeah.
It's quite a big room, but I mean bigger than that, like really big, and it's just full of toilet cubicles. And often in the dreams, the toilets are all disgusting. Like, they're filthy. So, like, you really need the toilet. You finally find this really, really big toilet bathroom thing. But every single one is filthy, or the door's off, or something like that. But yeah, I dream about that all the time, and I really don't know why. But in this dream, it was just a case of, like, walking through them and being like, I'm lost. I didn't try and use the toilet. Yeah, and then I needed to get to my locker because my lunch was in it. The actual where the locker was and that was the same as when I actually worked at Asda. Like it was just the behind the scenes part in the dream. It was like a mix of my primary school and the locker room at Asda. Like it was weird. It was like it had merged.
Yeah.
And then I got lost. It was very similar to the dream I had the other day where I got lost in like an office building, and like I said about like the half doors and stuff, like it was like a liminal space sort of thing where it just had half walls for no reason. And again, I blame Tom and Simon for that because I watched their video where they played the backrooms. And yeah, then I got lost. I was like, I better get an Uber to wherever I need to go. And I got in the Uber. Turns out I was just in the wrong building completely, and it took me to a different building.
I'm trying to find if there's anything to do with bathrooms in the book. But it's like, oh my God, we seem to have found all the ones that send you around the houses, literally, today, because it's got buildings, but then it's got specific types of buildings, and then it goes to rooms.
Yeah.
But under rooms, it's got kitchen and sitting room, no mention of bathroom. So I went to, I looked up bathroom, nothing there. And then it just has things about a series of rooms, anything in an upstairs, a basement or cellar. And I'm like, no, go back to the rooms. I guess I could look up toilet. Maybe it gets its own section in toilet.
Yeah, I've just Googled like big bathroom dreams, and I found a forum, and this person is like, once in a while I have a dream about a pretty like big bathroom. They're really big, like a maze, just full of toilets and stalls. They're often very old, messy, pretty gross. And then somebody replied, when I dream about bathrooms, they tend to be huge as well, like those public swimming pool changing rooms, but even bigger. I don't know the reason. I suspect that I'm remembering the washrooms in high school or in other public places where I felt very uncomfortable when I was younger, like forced to change there, etc., etc. But yeah, these people all seem to be having like a similar thing where it is just like a really big, like tiled room full of like toilets and stalls and stuff. Weird. It's really strange.
It says under toilet, for many people, the toilet has been, until recently, a symbol for dirt and lack of appreciation. Nowadays, the symbolism is much more to do with the notions of privacy and the ability to reach a state where we can release our feelings in private.
Right.
It says, going to an unfamiliar toilet suggests that we are in a position where we do not know what the outcome to a situation will be. Cleaning a dirty toilet suggests we are losing our prudish attitude.
Oh.
You were letting them stay dirty,
yeah,
though, weren't you? You prude?
Them, yeah. I'm a prude. I'm not cleaning them toilets. Yeah, I guess, like, it does really remind me of the changing rooms when you'd go as a school to a swimming pool. So the whole idea of like privacy and, you know, uncertainty and stuff like that makes sense for sure.
Yeah. That's such such a time of life. I mean, it's just that awkward thing of like, you've all just had your swimming lessons and you're all trying to like, I don't know, there's just something about it that's really, you're at your most awkward phase to date. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've probably been more awkward since, but you're at one of the most awkward times of your life and you're all just lumped in together in this big room, and it's so like stark. Yeah. Like that. And I think it's also coupled with that general feeling of, if you have just been swimming and you have that horrible time in between, you've sort of got used to the pool water and you've warmed up a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're just so exposed and you're so cold.
You're cold and you got to change in front of everyone. And
it's just, it's so bearing. And I have such a specific memory as well of our school swimming pool in my secondary school, that the toilet paper in the toilets in there, I swear it was tracing paper. It was the harshest paper I've ever known.
Yeah, we had tracing paper toilet roll as well.
What is it about school swimming pools that they're just, it's like, oh, well, of course we get the tracing paper toilet roll.
Yeah.
Don't want there to be anything comfortable about these changing rooms whatsoever.
Exactly. I mean, we didn't even have a swimming pool, so I guess we were just cheaping out on the toilet roll as well.
It's weird. I don't remember it being in any of the other toilets other than the swimming pool one, and always in that one.
I feel like we had nice toilet roll in secondary school, but in junior school we had toilet paper, tracing paper toilet roll.
Yeah.
For sure.
Have you ever been back to a primary school in adulthood?
Yes. To watch like plays.
It's so weird.
It is really weird. Yeah. It's super weird. I would like to like just go back to my old school and just see what it looks like. But at the same time I wouldn't.
I went back to mine for work. I can't remember specifically what it was, but in my primary school, we had this big mural painted in the dining room. Mm-hmm. And I went back because we were filming an interview about it or something. I can't remember why, but I got asked to do the camera work for it. So I got to go back to my primary school, and it's so strange, like, being back and being like, was it always this tiny? Yeah. Everything's just so small. And like, if you go back into the, you just like pop in to use the toilet as well. And you're just like, what? It's so strange. Because I guess you never think about it when you're
you never think
there,
that the toilets are child-sized.
Yeah, that's just because you just adjust to fit like a goldfish to their bowl.
I remember getting stuck in the toilets once in junior school.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We had, I don't know if it was in every room, but in one of our rooms, in year 4, we had like 2 little toilet cubicles in the classroom, like sort of just to the side. And I remember getting stuck in one of them once. Aww. It was like, I think just the door frame was the door hadn't been planed quite enough. Yeah. So I just couldn't pull it open. So I just sort of stood in there for a while, and I didn't want to make a scene, so I just was just like, oh, well, I guess this is my life now.
That's the thing. I feel like when you're that age, you're just like, this is it now. I have become toilet girl. I live in the toilet. I will feast off of the tracing paper toilet roll for as long as it sustains me. It's like, I remember a time when I got lost in a supermarket when I was little. And I think I had my mum had walked down one aisle, I hadn't noticed, and then she probably went to the other one, realised, turned around, came back, and that was it. But for my child sense of time, I was like, okay, I guess I can just feed off of I live in the supermarket, and I will just eat the food. I'll hide in the shelves until, and hope they don't find me and discover me lurking here. And I was thinking, I remember having this such specific thought of, I guess I have to buy baby sweet corn because I'm a child and normal sweet corn will be too big for me. And then I turned around and my mum was there and I was like, oh, okay, never mind, I'll go home.
All right. Guess I'll go home.
But everything is just so extreme as a child.
Oh. Did you ever, as a kid, accidentally grab someone's hand thinking it was your parents' hand, like out in public?
I didn't grab their hand, but I remember being at we were on holiday in France and we went to this big water park, and I remember following who I thought was my dad in the queue for this massive water slide.
No.
And then we got to the top, and I somehow, only when we were at the front of the queue, I looked up and was just like, that's not my dad. And this guy just went down, because why would he go down with a strange child? And then I had to go down the massive water slide on my own because my dad wasn't there. And I was just like,
oh, no. Oh, yeah. Well, at least you went down though. You were very brave.
Yeah.
You could have gone back down the stairs on the walk of shame. Oh my gosh.
But I think that's the only time I did that.
Yeah, I just have a distinct memory as a kid, probably in Lakeside in Essex, because that's where we always went shopping. And I just remember grabbing someone's hand and looking up, and it wasn't my mum, and I was just like, oh my God.
I've had it happened the other way around before. I've had a child take my hand.
Oh.
And I looked down and was just like, hello? I was just sort of looking around.
Can I help you?
This dad came running over like, sorry. I was just like, that's okay.
Oh. Oh my
Suddenly
gosh.
acquired a child. And maybe in many years' time, that child will have a podcast and will tell the story.
Oh my God, true. True.
I looked up baggage. And it says, to be carrying extra baggage in a dream, we may be carrying an extra load, either emotionally or practically. Okay. We may be expecting too much of ourselves or of others. We are carrying past hurt or trauma. So stop expecting so much of yourself.
Okay.
You're doing fine.
I'll try my best. I'll try my best.
What are some like crisp bags and stuff?
Yeah, so in the taxi there was just like trash everywhere. And like there was a crisp bag that I was just sort of funneling the trash into so I could put it in the bin.
Yeah.
There was like a cut up debit card on the dashboard, but that is literally because I cut up my old debit card the other day. Because it expired in like October and it's just been in my purse. And every time I pay for something with my card, I pull both out and I have to look at them and be like, which one's the new one? So I finally cut it up and it was on my desk. Rather than putting it straight in the bin, it was just on my desk for a while. So naturally I dreamt about it.
There's a second point to baggage.
Oh?
It says, the dreamer is under some psychological stress and may have to decide projects or feelings can be left behind in waking life.
Oh.
So...
I mean, there's always projects that I need to do
that
I don't get around to because that's just how I operate. But, yeah, like there's always stuff. Like there was obviously the issue of the merch, which I really wanted to try and do, but I just couldn't. And I can probably say it now because it would have gone out by the time this episode has gone out. But a few people in the community have been doing a colouring book for Jingle Jam.
Yeah.
And they have been doing such an incredible job. And I said I would help a bit. And I just haven't really had time to do a full-on spread, but I've done a couple of little doodles for it. And I've done one thing for the TTT spread, and I literally just need to put a hat on it. I need to draw a hat, and that's all I have to do. But my brain is like, nope, you can't draw that hat until the last day.
Yeah.
The very minute before the deadline, that's when you're going to draw that hat. And I'm just like, okay, brain.
What is it about deadlines that seem to be... You sort of get like the two groups of people who will be like, this deadline is a week away. I will get this done now. It is done. Mm-hmm. And then you get the sorts which I feel like we fall into, which is like, I've got a week.
Yeah.
I've got 3 days.
I've got
an hour.
I've got 30 minutes. Yeah, I don't like doing it. I don't like saying it for everything, but it just seems like everything is. But apparently that's an ADHD thing.
Yes.
Apparently, yeah, procrastination to that degree is an ADHD thing. I don't know why. I don't know why my brain is the way that it is, but yeah, that's how it be. I've always kind of been like that though, like even with video games, with schoolwork, like when I was at uni, I would feel bad if I didn't work on my project, but I didn't want to just start writing. So I would spend 80% of my time working on a project, writing notes. And I would just have tons of notes. And when it came to actually writing up the project, like at the very end of the time period that we had to do it, I would get all of my notes and I would just convert them into like prose so they made sense and then just put them all together. Yeah. So that's how I worked, like, because it meant that I could do the work before the deadline, but it didn't feel like I was doing the work, if you know what I mean. And even with video games, like I will play a video game to death, but when I get to the last bit in so many games, I'm like, nope, no more. I'm done. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. It's just, I've always been like it. And it's just like there's a big mental block there. There's a big wall that's like, no entry. You're not allowed. I did it with Breath of the Wild. I played Breath of the Wild to death. I got to Hyrule Castle and I was just like, yeah, I've had enough. I don't need to see the end. It's fine.
Do you think a certain element of it could be sort of like Schrodinger's Hyrule Castle? Like, the end could be disappointing after this big build-up, but if you never play it, then it can never
then I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, maybe there's an element of that. I mean, I do that with TV shows too. Like, obviously, Game of Thrones, everyone knows that it was terrible at the end. I watched all of Game of Thrones. Like, I binged it. I absolutely binged the heck out of it. And then the final season came out and we were watching it and it was like, this is kind of garbage. And then like week to week, like on Reddit, like people would leak the plot for the next episode. And because it was kind of bad, I was like, I'm just going to read the plot. Yeah. And I read the plot for the final episode and I was just like, okay, I'm done. That's enough. I've still never seen that last episode. But I know what happens, but I've never watched it. But on the other side of the coin, like also very good shows like Breaking Bad. I watched all of Breaking Bad, never watched the last episode.
Maybe this is the baggage you're carrying around. It's bags full of the final episode or the final cutscene of a video game.
Final boss, final episode, the final hat on a drawing that I've been doing. It's just,
bags and bags of finishing touches.
Yeah, it's like I have to, so with my ADHD meds right now, I have to fill in like little surveys every week just to see how I'm getting on with them. And yeah, it does. There's always a question that's like, do you find it difficult to wrap up a project that you've been working on? I'm like, yes.
I thought you were going to say it's the last question on the form and you never fill it out. Just leave it blank as a power move.
Fuck, I would if I could. But yeah, God. Yeah, it's just, that is like one of the biggest things for me. Like, I just really struggled to wrap things up. And I can't remember why we started talking about this, but yeah, that's just how I be.
Yeah. There are just certain things that, even though we know ourselves and we know that we do them, they can just be so hard to combat. Like, going back to the time thing and the deadlines. I would experience so much stress all throughout school because of doing things, leaving it up until the deadline. But did I learn for the next thing? No, I would just do it again.
No, never. It's like my dissertation as well. Like, I mean, obviously I worked on my dissertation for a long time because it's a big project. But that didn't stop me from going, I'll wait until the day before to make sure it's perfect. So I worked up until probably 2 a.m. or something the day before it was due in at like 10 a.m. in the morning. 10 a.m. And then I woke up at 6 a.m. and finished it. And then went and got it printed and then handed it in. Like, it's just, why did I wait that long?
My dissertation was still warm from the printer when I handed it in. Because I remember emailing it, and then they were like, you need a physical copy. And I was like, we do? What? So I had to run to the library to be like, please print this. The deadline's in an hour.
Oh, my God. I think our handing in of our dissertation was handing it to the printer, maybe. So it wasn't too bad. Yeah. But also, I know I did it at the very, very last minute.
Yeah.
but yeah. But I managed and I got a first. I got the top grade in my class. So I'm smart, but it just takes some time for it to happen.
In contrast to this, Alex with his dissertation, because we were at uni at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we were sort of writing our dissertations at the same time. And he would just sit down and write 100 words a day, like every day for a couple months, he would just sit himself down, write out his words. Whereas
That's a sensible way to do it.
well, I was the same as you. I did all of my reading
Yeah.
and then I just sat down in one go and wrote the whole thing in a night.
Yeah.
Just got it out. And I do remember that I did have it was very, very naughty of me. I did get an extension because I went to talk to my teacher about random things. I wasn't going to her to ask for an extension, but I was talking to her about the Christmas holidays, I think. And I said, I saw my friend. And I was basically telling her a friend of mine that year was getting a divorce. They had just decided, throw in the towel. This is it. We're going to, they were still friends, but they were just like, no.
Had enough.
It's time. And I was just telling my teacher about this in like a casual conversation sort of way. And she was like, oh my gosh, I understand. Don't worry. It's so stressful. You be there for your friend. I'll give you an extra month on your dissertation. I was like, okay, thank you. But did I still take that entire month to do the thing? Yes.
I also had an extension on my dissertation. And I worked up till the morning of the due date.
Some say they're still writing their dissertations to this day.
So we got an extension because I lived on site, so I was with a uni. I was with Portsmouth Uni, but I was at a college called Sparsholt College, which is in Hampshire? ? Yes, and I think it's Hampshire. Yes. There are 3 halls of residence on site. They're just very small because it's just like an agricultural college, and it's very countryside-y. They have a field full of cows and stuff. They even have that. Literally, when we went to visit to see if like this is where I wanted to do my last year of my degree, they gave us a tour, and they have a shooting range, not for killing things, but for potential zookeepers that might need to learn how to tranquilize animals. It is that specialist. We were just like, what? Okay. So yeah, it was one of those, and yeah, they had 3 halls of residence, and I was in one of them, and we had a really, 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 really bad snowstorm. Probably at the start of the year, I imagine, because our dissertation would have been due in like May-ish. So it was around the start of the year, maybe like February or something. And the snowstorm hit, and I was in my room. I was on my computer playing video games with my friends, probably, and the electric went out. And I was like, oh, weird. So I went and like looked out the door. Like everyone who was awake sort of peeped out the door, like, what's going on? And it was like, oh, we better call like the warden. So I was like, all right. So I got the warden's number. I called him. I was like, oh, the electric's gone out. I'm going to go and like have a little look around. So I went and walked into the stairwell, and there was water coming out of the light.
Oh.
And it was like, by the way, there is water flowing through the light fittings. And they were like, we need to evacuate you now. Okay. So we had to be moved out of our halls of residence for a couple of weeks at least, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they gave us an extension because that was sort of when dissertation time was hitting. So that was
like
nice.
That's more understandable than mine.
It was pretty valid, to be fair. It was pretty valid, but yeah, that was fun.
It reminds me of when I was writing my dissertation. I was writing it on my laptop in the house that I was staying in with 2 other students at the time. And all of a sudden, my laptop died. Didn't run out of power. There was a connection between the screen and the keyboard broke. And my laptop just went off. And I remember all of a sudden, my stomach just like filled with acid because of the panic. I was in so much pain. And all I remember is slowly closing my laptop and picking it up, picking up my bag, and like walking doubled over down to the train station. I got the train to Hertfordshire, and I just turned up at my parents' house and was like, parents, what do I do? Like 3 hours later, just like, hello. I'm home.
I'm just like imagining you not saying a word. Your laptop just turns off, you close it, and you just slowly walk away to the train station.
I was like a turtle returning back to the beach I was born on. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'll just go home.
Oh my God.
Just turned up. I think I might have. I don't even remember if I got dressed, if I was still in pajamas. I just turned up just like, what do I do?
Help me.
And luckily they had a monitor so I could just plug my laptop in and write it that way.
Oh, bless.
I was just like,
Oh my God. Jesus. Oh, it's so stressful. So stressful.
It is. But then sometimes, like, I remember being stressed at like GCSEs and A levels, and then I look back and I'm just like, that was didn't really have any responsibility.
Yeah,
I could just read all day. What am I complaining about now?
I remember when I did my GCSEs and I was so stressed, and my dad turned to me and he gave me some really good advice, if not some very depressing advice, but he just said, before you know it, 10 years would have passed and you won't even remember doing this. And I was like, okay, that honestly, that kind of makes me feel better. And also, 10 years passed pretty fucking quick. And I was just like, yep, been 10 years now.
It's just that thing of like, this too shall pass. Like,
yeah,
it feels so big at the time. But it's the same reason that, babies cry because they're hungry. It's like the most stressed they've ever been. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to them at that time, and then
the worst thing that's ever happened so far.
Yeah. Such wonderful advice.
Yeah. I'm just thinking back to all of like the exams and stuff that I've done. Like GCSEs were brutal because there was just so many exams, like you were sitting down to do like 2-3 exams a day because the amount of subjects you did, it was just crazy.
But I think also, like, the way they're framed, it's like, you're 16 now, you better decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. This is where it all happens. What are you going to be? And you're like, I don't know.
It's like when I didn't go to uni at 18, my art teacher, I remember him being really disappointed. I remember him, like, he was a proper, like, hard ass. And I remember he was like, oh, what, where have you applied to? And I was like, oh, nowhere, I'm not going. And he just looked at me, like, he gave me that look of just like, seriously. And I was just like, yeah, like, I don't want to go to uni. Not yet. I don't know what I'm doing. I went to uni at 23. So it was 5 years before I went to uni after I left school.
I do wish that was more normalized, though, because I went to uni for all the wrong reasons and I hated it. And in hindsight, I wouldn't have gone because the job that I ended up doing was one where work experience was more valued anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but it's just one of those things that I guess you can argue that I wouldn't have known that that's what I wanted to do had I not gone through those 3 years in some, weird cosmic
That's the thing.
way. But
like, it's so easy to say like, oh, if I hadn't done that, then maybe I'd be doing blah, blah, blah. But also like, there's so much stuff that, like, I'm really glad that I waited to go to uni because, and I'm pretty sure, again, I've said this before, the people that I met at uni got me into YouTube and watching like Yogscast and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up streaming and how I ended up joining the Yogscast and meeting a bunch of my best friends.
And how we ended up doing this podcast.
Yeah. So if I'd have gone to uni at 18, fuck knows where I'd be. Like, I would have gone and done art. And I'd probably just be doing something not related to art, I guess.
You'd just be drawing loads of people without hats.
Yeah, literally. Bloody hell. God. I wonder if a part of me would also, like, maybe have come round to sort of the same path as well, because I know people that knew the Yogs like separate to university, so I wonder, how the universe would have, maybe it would have swung me back round and I would have ended up in the same place anyway.
Yeah.
But also maybe not. Who knows where I could have been.
Well, it's like, for me,
it's like you met Alex, right?
Yeah, like we didn't go to the same university, but we met whilst I was at university. So whether it would have been the same had I not have gone through those 3 years of hell, maybe it wouldn't. So I guess in that way, it's sort of worth it.
When you applied to uni, like what did you sort of look into doing? Did you just go straight for what you eventually went for, or did you sort of shop around a bit?
I just went straight for photography because it was the only thing that I enjoyed doing. But for me, I had sort of taken, it wasn't meant to be a gap year at all. It was just, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just going to go and work. And I worked in a music shop and I absolutely loved it. I worked with my best friend at the time, and I was having it was sort of like I used to watch. Have you ever seen Clerks? I guess it's meant to be said Clarks, isn't it? But the
no, I've heard of it.
Like we would watch that, and it's just about these two best friends who work at a shop together, and we were like, "This is it. This is our lives."
Us.
And then the shop closed down, and she was moving out of town to go down to Eastbourne and live with her boyfriend. And I was like, my one friend in my town is leaving my town. I'm losing my job. Guess I'll go to university. Which is obviously a terrible reason for going to university. And I looked at 3 different unis and then just applied to those 3 and then went with the one I went with, which was in the year of me being there, the second to last worst university in the UK.
Wonderful.
So I chose wisely, I feel.
You didn't pick the worst one. Pretty good.
I went to that university. This is just like a series of what not to do. But anyone listening who's thinking of going to university, don't do what I did. I went to that university because it was near to my boyfriend. Plot twist, their name was not Alex. So spoilers for how that one turned out.
Oh no.
So,
Yeah, that was something they really drummed into us when we were at school. They were like, don't go to uni because your friend's going. Don't go because you have a boyfriend there. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I do what I want. I applied to Hertfordshire because I didn't want to move out. Yeah.
Yeah. I probably would have done better going to Hertfordshire. Yeah, I think the uni is better than the one I went to. But again, like, you know.
Hertfordshire's pretty good for the arts. They have some good stuff, I think.
Yeah, I almost transferred there for my second year. But then I did not because, oh my gosh, I remember the first day I went to uni, my parents, I watched them drive away having dropped me off and I held it together, walking all the way back up to my dorm. And as soon as I closed the door, I burst into tears. I was like, I do not want to be here. I hate this. And I remember being so sad for the entire first week that my mum came back down and she stayed with me. So I was just like, I hate it. I don't want to be here. I don't like this. I made a mistake. God. And I felt like that for the entire 3 years. It was like, there's a quote in Princess Bride where the Dread Pirate Roberts is like, good work, Wesley. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll most likely kill you in the morning. And that's how I felt at university. I was like, okay, that was a horrible day. I'll most likely quit in the morning. And then I did that for 3 years. I was like, well, graduated now. So
yeah, that's exactly what I was like. Like we all went through like, right, when are we quitting? Like, oh, I just want to drop out. Oh my God, I completely forgot about that. But yeah, we were constantly talking about dropping out. We were like, we hate this so much. This sucks. I am going to drop out. And no, never did. Never did.
But I remember when I was younger, my mum gave me this postcard that I kept on my wall for years and years and years. And I might have even taken it to uni. And it just said, all roads lead vaguely in the right direction.
Aww.
And that's just sort of how I've always lived life. Like, you try things, you're never gonna, be 16 and doing your GCSEs and be like, this is what I want to do, and then stay in that career. I mean, maybe some people do. They're like, I want to be a doctor. They train to be a doctor. They love it. That's it. But that's not how it works for most
Everyone.
people.
Yeah, most
you
people.
have to try things to realize you don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
And having a job that you don't like isn't a mistake, but staying in
stepping
it
stone.
is like not trying new things is the mistake, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I used to have a little post-it that I put on my little pinboard at uni. It was just a drawing of me. I think it was just a little angry me, and it said something like, "Don't quit," or "Don't give up," or
Hang in there, kid.
"Hang in there. Stop being a shit." It was something like that, and I'd look at it and be like, "Okay, me, I promise, I won't drop out of uni tomorrow."
But on the bright side, we've been talking about, having trouble finishing things. We both finished uni, so there's that.
We did, yeah. We did. I was really surprised that I literally was the top of my class. Like, and genuinely, I think taking that extra time after sixth form to think about what I wanted to do really made me appreciate it more. So there were a lot of kids that were in the class that just didn't really give a shit,
Yeah.
They would like not hand in assignments, or they would just wait until like 2 days after to hand them in and stuff like that, and they'd get a like 40% cap on their assignment or whatever, and they just didn't care. Whereas I was always like worried, and I wanted to get my work done. I wanted to get it done well. If I got less than a certain amount, I'd be really upset. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of put all of myself into it because I wanted to be there. And so yeah, when I finished the course and they were like, "Oh, you're the top of the class," I was like, "What the fuck?" But then someone turned around to me and went, "Of course you're the top of the class." And I don't know if they meant it. I don't know if they meant it in a "fuck you" kind of way. But I was just like, "Okay, sorry."
I guess it depends on the intonation. If it's like, "Of course you're the top of the class," or "Of course you're the top of the class."
Yeah, honestly, I think it was the latter.
Whoops. Oh, dear. Do you know what I've realised?
What?
Obviously, we are pre-recording. We're getting ahead. And this, would you believe it, 'tis the Christmas episode.
Is it? Oh, shit.
So
Merry
this will
Christmas.
be going out a few days before Christmas. So Merry
Chrysler.
Christmas, everyone. Merry
Crimbles.
good Yuletide to all of you. I hope you all have a lovely Christmas. And I guess what we're trying to say is don't worry about it. If
Don't worry about
two strange little guys like us can find happiness, so can you.
Yeah. Just start a podcast.
Yeah.
Easy.
Start a podcast where
Actually,
you
no,
get to...
don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, yeah, we're just creating rivalries.
We don't want rivals, yeah. Just listen to
Listen
our
to
podcast.
a podcast.
This one.
Be merry
Yeah.
as you slide into the weird Merineum of the year between Christmas and New Year's.
Merineum.
A
The
wonderful
taint
time.
of 2023.
Oh my gosh. That's what they call me.
On that note, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. And until next time, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.